Hey y'all, welcome and/or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so before we get into the video, here is my nail cam. The camera always tries to play me, but we're gonna get it together. Okay, so let's try it again. Don't look at me, camera. Look at the nails, girl. Oh, there you go, there you go, there you go. Alright, so here we have it. This is my first Christmas set of the year. I am kind of obsessed, actually. Not gonna lie. So now that we got that out the way, we can just go ahead and jump right into the case because y'all, this one was so wild. Like, I didn't expect what happened. I didn't expect what happened to happen at all. So we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into it because I want to know y'all opinions about this case at the end. I'm gonna ask y'all a question at the end, and I want y'all to tell me in the comments what y'all think because I'm gonna tell y'all what I think, and I want to know what y'all think. But anyway, okay, let's go. So we're gonna be talking about the crazy ass, bizarre ass case of Mary Louise Day. So Mary Louise Day, she was born on February 19th, 1968 to her parents Charlotte and Charles Day. And she also had two younger sisters named Kathy and Sherry. Now, Mary and Kathy shared the same dad, which was Charles. Now, Sherry, we don't know who her daddy was. But nonetheless, those were her two younger sisters. Now, while I don't know the full extent of Charlotte and Charles' relationship, what I do know is that at some point they split up and all the girls would live with Charlotte. But that didn't seem to be the best idea or the best option because Charlotte was really struggling as a single mother. She was not too much able to take care of her three girls. And because of this, the girls would be in and out of foster care due to the fact that Charlotte like I said, she just had a really hard time taking care of her girls. So unfortunately, they were in and out of the child care system. But luckily, they kept all three of the girls together and they were all fostered by one family. Now, while her kids are away in foster care, Charlotte take it upon herself to, I don't even know if she got her act together or if she got her shit straight, but she did find a man. And his name is William Hoole. He is an army man. And they fall in love. So now she's with this army man and she gets married. So now Charlotte is in a better situation financially to be able to take care of all of her kids. However, she would only get two of the kids back, and that would be Mary and Kathy, because Sherry had actually ended up being adopted by one of the foster families that they were at. So Sherry wouldn't be going back home to her family, to her mother Charlotte. But Sherry never did lose contact with them though. She was able to go visit them and still talk to her birth family, but she was just adopted now. She didn't technically, I guess, belong to them, but her adopted parents didn't keep her away from them either. Now, once William and Charlotte were married, they would go on to have two additional kids in conjunction with Kathy and Mary. So now they got 4 kids in the household, and they moving all over the place because William is an army man. He's getting stationed all over the place. And so at some point after they get the kids back, William is stationed in Hawaii. So now they have 4 kids in the household. They live in Hawaii. It's going great, except for not really, because at some point there have been reports that William was being abusive towards Mary, which caused her to be taken out of the household once again. And so now she's in foster care in Hawaii. But during that time while she was in foster care, William actually ended up getting stationed at Fort Ode in California. And so the family moved to Seaside. But since Mary wasn't in their care at the time, she had to be left behind. And not only had Mary been taken out of her household yet again, it was while they was in Hawaii that Charles, Mary and Kathy's biological father, he ended up passing away. Charles actually left an inheritance to Mary and Kathy. So I think they wouldn't be able to get it till they was like either 18 or maybe 21, but he did in fact leave them an inheritance. And at some point or another, Mary was released from foster care and she was allowed to go back to live with her mom and William. It was here in Seaside where Mary would go missing from. So y'all remember Sherry, the one who was adopted. I told y'all she was able to keep in contact with her family. So one day in 1981, she was allowed to go visit her, her birth family, and she went over there and Mary was gone. So she asked her sister Kathy, what happened to Mary? Where's she at? And Kathy told her, like, we're not allowed to ask or talk about Mary, so just don't. And Sherry, she was confused, but their mom ended up telling them that Mary had run away. That was pretty much it. Like, Mary had literally just vanished. And Sherry never could really let it go. She always thought about Mary. She always wondered what happened to her. She knew that something just didn't sound right. Like, okay, my sister ran away. And if that's what y'all say, okay, but why are we, not actively looking for her? Why are the police not involved in our lives? Why is no one looking for Mary? And so because Sherry could not just shake this feeling of just like something was wrong, she decided to file a missing persons report when she turned 18. Once the missing persons report was filed, the police started looking around. They went to the neighborhood to see if anybody, remembered the family, remembered seeing Mary. And for the most part, nobody really remembered them because, like I said, this was a military town. People was moving all the time. This family, the Houle family, they, moved a couple more times after the fact. And so they really didn't get too much there. But they did look and see that Mary had never been enrolled in school in California, which was kind of odd because at the time of her disappearance, she was 13 years old. So why wouldn't she be going to school? And they also found it weird that Charlotte nor William had reported her missing. But they realized that these two probably had a motive for not reporting her missing, which was the checks that she was getting from the government due to her father passing away. So they figured that that was a potential reason that her parents had never reported her missing so that they could still collect these government checks under her name. Next, the police wanted to talk to Kathy. She was 11 years old when Mary went missing, and they wanted to see how much she remembered, they just kind of wanted to pick her brain to see if there was anything that she could provide them that would lead them to, where Mary is. So they take Kathy back to the house that she lived in with Mary, her, and their parents or whatever, and she tells them that her parents and her younger siblings had gone out for the day and it was just her and Mary in the house for a little while. And at some point while the rest of the family was gone, the dog had started to get sick. Their family dog had began to get sick. And once the rest of the family came home and William saw that his dog was sick and dying, he pretty much blamed it on Mary and said that she had poisoned his dog, and he just went ham. Like, he was screaming, he was yelling, and he got physically abusive towards Mary. And Kathy said she was terrified at this point. And the last time that she seen Mary, there was blood coming out of her mouth, and that was legit just the last memory that she had of Mary. And she also told the police officers that her dad told her and the other kids to stay away from one particular area in the backyard, but he never said why. He just told them, don't go over there. And so now the police are thinking something more sinister than a runaway had happened. And so they bring in cadaver dogs. They bring in 4 different cadaver dogs, I think at separate times. Yeah, I think at separate times. And each cadaver dog hit on a certain area in the backyard. And these, like I said, these were cadaver dogs. So they were trained to spot the scent of decomposition. And so they all hit on this one spot individually. And so they start digging. And as they dig in, they find a shoe. That's it though. They don't find any human remains. They don't find any skull fragments. They don't find any bone fragments. They don't find anything other than a shoe. So from their initial searches in 1989, they didn't really too much come up with nothing. And all of this other stuff is happening in 2003. So now it's 2003 and the police need to find these parents because now this is looking like a homicide. So they find Charlotte and William. They still together. William has now left the army. He's a corrections officer somewhere in somebody's jail. And Charlotte, I don't really know what she's doing, but they are still together and they find them in Kansas. And so they talking to Charlotte and they like, okay, so what happened to Mary? And she said she ran away. And she said that she didn't really think too much of it because this was normal for Mary. Mary was a habitual runaway. And y'all, that just didn't really sit well with me because y'all know how I feel about runaways on this channel. And if you don't know, let me tell you right quick. I don't care if a child runs away as a career. I'm looking for my baby every time. But that's neither here nor there. She thought it wasn't a big deal for whatever reason. And that just is what it is. And so the police officer, I don't really know what they asked her to provoke this statement, but Charlotte ended up saying that, sometimes in life you do things and you just really wish you could change the past. And that was a little bit suspicious to the officers because it's like, are you saying that you did something real, real bad and stupid and you shouldn't have? Or are you saying you should have looked for your baby? But even with that statement, she still was going with the story that Mary had run away. So she was saying that they asking her a bunch of questions that she don't remember. The last time she seen Mary was in 1981, which was the last time she had run away, and that William said that there was a police report filed at the Salinas Police Department, and she said she don't remember if they filed a police report or not. She said, if we did, I don't remember. And I was thinking that's something you will remember, right? If your child run away and you file a police report, I feel like that's something you will remember. But that's neither here nor there. She said she don't remember, so we just gonna go with that. So now it's time to question William. And the detective asked William when the last time he seen Mary. And he was pretty much just like, I was checking on the kids. You know how parents do. They check on the kids while they sleep. And he was doing that. He realized Mary wasn't in her room. Him and Charlotte panicked and they called the police. But he could tell that the detective was like kind of calling him on his bullshit without even saying nothing. So the detective pressed him some more and he's like, look, I already know about the sick dog, homie. So you might as well, give it up. So William offer up a different story. He said, yes, she did poison my dog. And I was really, really pissed. And I might have hurt her. But if it was my body that had hurt her, it wasn't me mentally. My wife told me she had seen a demon in my eyes that night. And it was probably that guy. Definitely wasn't me. So with this, I guess, little piece of confession, they felt like, you know what, this is it. We got him. So they go to the DA and they like, look, we don't have Mary's body, but we can get this guy on murder based off of what he just told us. And we found a shoe in their backyard buried where all these cadaver dogs have hit and said that something was buried there. And he damn near, just shy of confessing. But the DA was like, you know what, we don't got enough, y'all gotta let him go. And so they had to let him go. Now, even though the DA said that the detectives didn't have enough, the detectives, they really wasn't too hung up on it because they was building their case. They just had to stack a little bit more evidence. And so they go looking and they realize, there's no evidence of Mary as an adult. There's no school, like I said, there was no school records of her in California at all. There was no record of her after she had turned 13 there. She had not gotten a driver's license. There was no record of her having a job. There was no records of her going to the doctors, dentists, or anything like that. They literally had no evidence of Mary existing as an adult. And they thought that would actually further their case because obviously if she had run away and was out here in these streets, she would have some type of record as an adult. And this is where the case goes all over the place for me. This is where things get kind of crazy. So as they're gathering more evidence to present to the DA so that they can bring this case to trial, in November of 2003 in Phoenix, Arizona, police do a routine traffic stop. And you know how they do. They collect all the IDs of all the people who's in the car. And so they run in all these IDs and a backseat passenger's ID come up as like, you know, something in the system, like, you know, it kind of flagged in the system. And it flags because the ID say Mary Louise Day. So it comes up as a missing person. So he called a police department that's handling the case, and he talks to the captain, and he like, hey, yo, bro, listen, let me tell you something. I found Mary Day. She up here in Phoenix, Arizona. She not missing no more. And the captain is like, what the actual F? I'm really legit over here gathering information to bring her stepfather to justice for her homicide. What you mean she not dead? Now, even though they were, I guess I want to say, a little bit excited at the fact that Mary wasn't missing, they was also a little bit suspicious because this ID that Mary presented was only issued to her 3 weeks prior to her being pulled over. Well, not her being pulled over, but you know, the car that she was in being pulled over. So they like, you only got this ID 3 weeks ago. You've been missing for all this time and you haven't gotten no ID until 3 weeks ago. So they kind of giving Mary the side eye at this point. They really don't know what to think. But of course they're gonna do their thing and they're gonna investigate. So they interviewing Mary, and she pretty much say that she had a terrible childhood, and so she ran away one final time and she never returned. She had just been pretty much living on the streets, living with whoever let her stay with them, just pretty much just making it as the time went on into adulthood. She said she had a pretty rough life, but she is married and she did run away. But the detective was still very suspicious because when he was talking to Mary, there was a lot of memory blocks that she had. Like, she couldn't remember certain things. She didn't remember certain details. And he noticed that she had this like really, really strong Southern accent, which Mary wouldn't have had. She was 13 when she ran away, and professionals have said that Southern accent would have had to been, you know, would have had to come within her formative years, you know, between the ages of 1 to 10, if she was, you know, going to have this accent. Now, Mary did say she spent time in the South, but it was only for a short period of time, and it wouldn't have been enough time for her to develop the really, really strong accent that she had developed. So the detectives were really, really skeptical. But nonetheless, they do inform the family that they have found Mary, and her younger sister, Sherry, she opens up her house to, you know, her long lost sister. And as soon as Mary got to the house, Sherry said she did not feel like that was her sister. She said something was off. It just didn't seem right. And she also noticed this strong ass Southern accent that Mary had, and it just didn't feel right to her. It didn't seem right. And the same for Kathy. When Kathy met her, she was just like, something's not right. You know, they did have I told you that their biological father had passed away in an accident and left them an inheritance. Well, that inheritance, they had a code word for, and it was Mohawk. And she said the fact that Mary didn't remember that code word, it was kind of strange to her. And some, like I said, some details she just didn't remember anymore. And so one day Mary's talking to the police, and you know, you can hear the skepticism in his voice. And Mary was pretty much just like, okay, so if I was dead, how would y'all find out how would y'all have found out who I was? And the detectives told her they would find out through DNA. And Mary was like, okay, well, how come y'all can't, you know, do my DNA now? How come y'all can't find out that way now? And the detectives was like, okay, shit, we can. Let's do that. So they run the DNA test, and it comes back as a match to Charlotte. This is Charlotte's daughter. But the family still don't believe that this is Mary. And I don't know if it's a detective or a prosecutor or who it is, but he has a theory on what actually happened and why this DNA matches to Mary. Well, matches to Charlotte as her daughter. They said that it was known that Charlotte would, you know, get pregnant by men outside of her marriage, and that she would abort the children. Now, this particular child, for whatever reason, made it through the rings, and this is Charlotte's daughter, but it's not Mary. He said that he thinks that once the investigation kicked up into Mary's disappearance, in order for them to not go down for a homicide. They chose to contact Charlotte's long lost daughter and gave her Mary's birth certificate and stuff so that she could get an ID, and told her, you know, pretend to be Mary and there's an inheritance in it for you, because Mary never claimed her inheritance because, you know, she was gone, and so the inheritance still was hers. And so that was the incentive for her to pretend to be Mary. However, they took photos of the young Mary and a photo of the older Mary to I guess it's a face analyst, a face specialist. I don't know what they call it, but they analyze photos and they, you know, compare photos and make sure and see if these two are the same people or not. And they said that it's a 90-something% chance that this is Mary. Now, with all of the evidence, some people did start to believe that this is actually Mary. Like, they changed their minds and was like, okay, well, all of this evidence, yes, this is Mary. But then there are some people who still do not believe that this person was actually Mary. They do believe that Mary was killed by her stepfather, and her mother helped him cover it up. And some people believe this because one day back in California, it was, I don't even remember what year it was, but it was later on after Mary had been found, and they had cadaver dogs searching on an unrelated case, and it was a hit on a house. And this was a house that the Hools had lived in at some point. So the fact that they didn't find human remains at that one house where all the cadaver dogs had hit at, they believe that she was transferred to their new house. But when they went digging for her there was nothing also. This whole case is just crazy. Later on, you know, after the whole case had blew up in Mary's older age, Mary had been diagnosed with cancer. So when people came up to interview her and talk to her, she really just wasn't up for visitors or anything at that point. But finally one day she was, and the interviewer got to talking to her, and there were explanations as to how she was able to obtain her birth certificate in order to get her ID. And she got the ID because she needed state health insurance because she was getting sick and she needed treatments, and she couldn't get that because she didn't have insurance. And so that's how she was able to get her birth certificate. Well, I don't remember how, but somehow she was able to obtain her birth certificate so that she could get the ID, so that she can get state insurance, so that she can get her treatments. She said that it's very, very frustrating to try to prove to people who you are when there's really no proof of who you are. Like, you lived under the radar for so long under a fake name. I think it was like Monica Donahue or something like that. And she just found it really, really frustrating that nobody believed her and that she really continuously had to prove who she was. And unfortunately, Mary did end up dying of cancer. And sadly, she did not have a funeral service. Nobody gave her a funeral. But yeah, y'all, that is the crazy, bizarre case of Mary Louise Day. Let me know in the comments if y'all think that that was Mary, or if y'all think that by some strange coincidence, Charlotte has some secret child who she contacted after the investigation into her disappearance kicked up. Like, y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm gonna tell y'all what I think now. I think that that was Mary. Look at these pictures. I mean, just look at these pictures. That is her. And if it's not her, Lord Jesus, some sorcery has been going on in that family. I don't know, but I do believe that that was Mary. Her DNA match, and I think I didn't tell y'all this in the story, but I think the DNA did match to her biological father as well. So, I mean, how do you explain that? But in any event, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. So now that we got that out the way, we can go ahead and address the fact that I got a whole ass headache right now. Oh my god. And the girls, all of Sherry's kids, would live. Sherry, who the fuck? Oh, that's the daughter. Girl, why am I keep doing this? His name is William Hewell. I can't say that. I can't say their last name. Hewells. I want to know what y'all think in the comments. Do y'all believe that that was Mary, or do y'all think that, you know, some crazy, what is it? Coincidence.